quorum. Approval of the minutes. Don't even have them with me. Has everybody had a chance to review the minutes? No?
Do we not have a quorum?
We have
Yeah,
a
we
warrant,
have a quorum.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Do we have has everybody reviewed the minutes?
Right.
A long time.
It's been a long time. Motion to accept the minutes as presented,
I'll move, so move.
So,
moved and seconded.
second.
Lauren? Aye. Anybody else from the committee on here?
Bill O'Brien.
She is
Right.
muted.
Motion carries. Discussion of GMP. As I know you all know, we've all worked as hard as possible to end up with a GMP that is under or close to the original estimate for this three-part project. And our efforts have not been in vain. We have in fact found many ways to lower the cost of construction, but not enough that our final GMP matches the original estimate, not by a long shot. Unfortunately, the construction market has gone up and up with only a hint that it may be leveling off in the future. And waiting for prices to go down isn't a very smart bet. Everyone we've asked seems to think that even if the construction market levels off, it probably won't go down anytime soon, much less return to pre-COVID prices. It doesn't really make sense to wait and build in a year or two. That leaves us with a very difficult choice. Do we go forward and request the additional funding needed to build the complete project? Do we consider building one of the buildings and phase in the other projects? Do we give up and pay all the bills accrued to this point? What is the cost of not building this project? With the help of Mark Willett and Pete Pelletier, we will go through these options and explain why we believe the best choice is to ask the town to fund the health center and wait to build the Up Island garage. We believe there are grant opportunities which we can look for to build the Up Island garage, and the current construction bids are out of line to consider seriously. We have a bit more work to do to know precisely how much we will need to request in the town warrant, but we can give you our estimate at this point. In order to make our choice make sense, we need to go through a bit of background information and numbers, so please bear with us. First, we've asked Pete Pelletier to explain briefly what he's done to get the lowest bids possible and why construction market is challenging right now. He will be brief and not go into great detail, but he can follow up with more information as you request it. Please write down your questions and we'll give you a chance at the end of each person's comments. Second, Mark or Pete will clarify the cost of the health center will go up a bit if only one of the buildings is included in the project. We will break out those numbers. And then finally, we will go over the estimated cost of stopping the project and not building any of the buildings, period. As I said, please write down anything you have for questions. Let them go through their talk and we'll have time for questions after that. So with that, I'd like to introduce Pete Pelletier and give us an explanation of the pricing that he's done and Pete.
Oh, on mute.
You're muted. You're muted.
How's that?
There you go.
Okay. Thank you very much. I'm Pete Pelletier. I'm the president and director of pre-construction services for Ledger Construction. A little bit of background. Ledger Construction has been around for over 40 years. and we started out as a regular general contractor, and we've evolved over the years into a construction manager. For those of you who are not familiar with construction management, is we basically are going to manage the town, manage for the town your projects, and have all the subcontractors under our umbrella. But we don't actually perform any work. And why that's an advantage to you is that 100% of your project is competitively bid. That's an important point to remember. So everything that has to get done on the project, we have gone out and solicited bids for. So part of our process is we develop detailed bid packages for every trade. We give them a scope, we give them the documents that Mark's team has provided us, and we break it down so they understand clearly what we expect them to carry in their price. We solicited bids, and we've gone through that process with all the trades. And then we accumulate those bids and do a process called, our post-bid interviews, where we interview the low 2 or 3 bidders on every trade to understand, to make sure they didn't win the bid because they made a mistake, that they left something out. We want to make sure, because those are the challenges that we have during construction. If we get partway through the job and come to find out the mechanical contractor forgot to did include something. So we try to eliminate all that process. So we've done that now. We've gone through the process, and we've collected the bids, and we put together a draft of the GMP. GMP is a guaranteed maximum price. That would be the contract that we would sign with the town that says, all right, barring any change orders that you would do, we would guarantee the project would stay under that price. And the other thing to point out in our contract that we differ from a lot of CMs is any money that we save under that GMP, 100% of it goes back to the town. So we are working as your agent, as your manager. We bring a lot of experience to the table. I have a superintendent, Peter McPherson, that's scheduled to do this job. He has over 25 years of experience as a superintendent. My project manager has over 30 years of experience. So it's a very experienced team. So that's the positive part of the process is the detail that we bring to the process. The downside is we had lower than expected coverage. We worked very hard to get subcontractors to participate. We understand the challenge of the island. I don't know if all of you know this, but I think I went back and looked. It was about 15 years ago we worked on the island when we did the expansion to the school, and so we have the experience of managing the ferry system as much as you can, and try to educate subcontractors on what they're going to have to do and how they're going to manage to get their work done. Some subcontractors have worked on the island before, a lot of them have not. And like I said, most of the trades we felt very comfortable in the process, and we felt very comfortable with the numbers. A couple of trades we struggled with. The first one is siding and trim. We still have not found a contractor that's willing to give us a price on the siding and trim. I think that we can still be able to find someone. It's because of the low roof configuration of the project. I think it'd be a fairly simple task to do with a 3 or 4 man crew. The other challenge we had was electrical. We only received one price on the electrical, and the number we received, we feel that is way out of line. We have talked to a couple of electrical contractors in this area and asked them to look at it, and they agreed with us. The number seems to be out of whack. So we went to work and said, okay, what seems to be the problem here? And we reached out to another group of electrical contractors. We basically expanded our geographic area to try to generate some interest. All in all, we've contacted over 45 electrical contractors to try to get some participation. And I'm happy to say that we currently have three new electricians that are now looking at it and are going to give us a price by next Tuesday. So we're hoping that we're going to see a significant move in the electrical number. Part of the problem we're having is, obviously, the obvious issue is the fact that you're on an island, you're remote, and it's challenging to get subcontractors to come out there and work. But on top of that is the whole industry is suffering right now. We have experience, because everybody understands what happened during COVID. A lot of the construction projects just shut down. There was no work going on, and so that created a backlog. So all of these projects that were in planning that just got shelved until after COVID, and then people started introducing these projects, and all of the developers that were planning on doing something, they didn't do anything. They delayed their projects as well. So then we had this huge backlog of work that we don't have enough contractors to do. Because also during COVID, it was a kind of a double whammy, is a lot of people retired early. They got out of the industry. And a lot of people just got out of the industry and found different work. And so the workforce is depleted drastically. I can't tell you how many electricians I talked to that said, I would love to bid your job. I just can't find any help. I talked to a gentleman the other day that said his key foreman gave him a year's notice, and he said, I spent the entire year and I still haven't replaced him. And so it's a real problem in the industry, and it's compounding the problem on your project because it's remote and because it's on the island. And so subcontractors are looking at it and saying, if I've got more of the work than I can handle in my backyard, why do I want to travel? And so, I tried to be the cheerleader for the project. I tried to tell everybody how great it is to work on the island. We've been there before. We've done it. We know we can help them through the process. We agreed to provide shuttle service between the ferry terminal and the job site, so they wouldn't have to bring their vehicles over every day. We'd shuttle them back and forth. We did whatever we could to try to generate some interest in the project. So at this point, the numbers that we put together a GMP budget for both buildings together. And then we also took a look at, okay, what happens if we do only the health center? And so that's where we're at. And I'm turning it back over to Pete, and hopefully I covered all the points you wanted me to.
Yeah, sounds good. Any questions from the committee on that portion? Any questions from the community? Hearing none, we'll move on to phasing in the projects and cost savings. And I think, Pete, you were up for that one too. Did you want to say any more about?
I can say, yeah, I can add, as some of you, probably most of you all know, that we came late to this project. H.E. Callahan was involved first. We have not put together a preliminary budget in this job, but we did, when we got involved, Blatt's office notified us that, the project's over budget. What can you recommend for changes? So we worked hard with Blatt's office and their engineers to come up with suggested cost savings and incorporate them into the project. And that was done so. And we were going based on these types of things have saved money in projects in the past. I can't speak to Callahan's number. I have no idea how they put their numbers together. All I can say is that the team had worked hard to try to reduce the cost of the project and simplify things to make the project quicker and less expensive.
Where did everybody go?
There.
Oh, all right. Mark, you want to lead us through the spreadsheets?
Sure. Do you folks hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I'll apologize in advance. I was out a good part of the week last week, with a bad cold, so if my voice and throat gives out on me, I apologize. Um, so thank you for your time. Thank you for the introduction, Pete Anderson, and going over your information, Pete Pelletier. This spreadsheet is on the screen here. This is a summary of both budget numbers and part of Pete's GMP numbers as they are currently, and some further breakdowns. I'm not going to go over every line item here, but I'll just hit the key points. And if there are questions, I can certainly answer any questions that you have. So the first column here is, I guess I'm not gonna have the pointer, but the first column under August 8, 22, that's when the budget was established. Where we gave some preliminary numbers for both construction, the administrative costs, and some of our fees. At the time, we had talked about a $3.5 million project, and that included both the healthcare center and the safety building, the public safety building. And we had allocated some monies for the renovation of the existing public safety building. But we weren't going to include that scope of work in the project here. So that at the time we were budgeting or targeting a $3.5 million project. Additional funds of $100,000 were raised, giving you available funding of $3.6 million. To then go under the column heading titled March 4th, Ledgewood bid for the health center and the Up Island Public Safety Garage. We got bid numbers originally from Ledgewood, and they were not favorable. Unfortunately, they were higher than expected. So we then asked the question, what if so that was bid with the assumption that both projects would happen concurrently. And what that did is there was a shared value achievement for things like mobilization, general conditions. There's some shared cost savings in doing both projects together that we achieved, and I'll show you what I mean by that in just a second. But as I mentioned, we went through a redesign process. There's a architectural and engineering fee adjustment that we had to change the design, so that meant added time and fee on our part. But we worked with Ledgewood, and we came up with some value engineering items. We changed the roof structure to create a lot less building envelope and volume, and therefore cutting on material costs and labor. But we still were not where we needed to be. So we asked Ledgewood to give us a price for doing the health center and the Up Island Garage independently. And that's what this next column is. Under March 7th heading, you'll see that the cost for each building is higher. And that's because we lose the advantage gained by those shared costs that I mentioned, i.e. the mobilization and the general conditions. So with that, we've talked with Peter and Warren, and we felt and would like to make the recommendation to everyone that the $1.4 million for the up island garage is not a good value. And we do not recommend proceeding with that at this time. For reference, the size of the building and that cost were in the ballpark of just north of $700 per square foot for a garage. That's not good value. For reference, again, the healthcare center at this price, if constructed on its own, were upwards of $600 per square. That is higher than our projected $480 dollars per square foot that you see on the spreadsheet. But in doing some research, that 600 in this market and economy is within acceptable construction industry standards. So we feel that that number that we're receiving is viable and workable, and so that's what we're using. So the 3.7 that you see here, 3.74, is what we're carrying in the project summary. We include the various backup materials or numbers rather that include holding monies back for the public safety renovation, the up island garage. We're just holding that budget value that we previously had, the previous contingency, and then our updated fees and services fee, which gives you a total of $4.8 million with a 3.6 available fund total. That leaves you with a differential of $1.2 million. Just as an exercise, I did on the side a brief calculation. If we were still proceeding with both buildings, with the budget you currently have, you'd be at $2.2 million over. So there's a pretty big difference there. So that is our recommendation, is to proceed with the healthcare building. We are, and this is worst case, 3.74 is kind of the worst case scenario. As Pete Pelletier had mentioned, we are expecting more numbers from the electrical subcontractor as well as Sovereign, which will bring that number down, hopefully. So the added increased value here for additional funding request is at 1.2 million. Excuse me. I've gone over that very, very quickly, and I'm sure there are questions.
Yep. Any questions for Mark from the committee? Well, I could hear, but
I couldn't hear everything you saying, is muffled.
yeah.
Yeah.
What did he say?
So
In a
basically,
nutshell.
in a nutshell, we've looked at doing all the buildings together, and the public safety garage is just more than we can stomach taking to the voters.
If you could talk a little louder,
Okay.
I just can't hear.
Yep, so we've looked at dividing the projects up and just focusing on the health center, but keep the money that had originally been budgeted for the up island garage and the renovations to the after the health center moves, keep those separate, and we'll bid them again later or try to find a different way to do them. And so when we do add up the cost of the current cost of the health center at 3.7 million, along with the up island garage at 432,000 and the existing public safety renovation, we come up with 4.8 million, of which we've already got donations plus been, voted to have matching funds. And actually the donations came in over, so we have 3.6 million there, so that is giving us an additional funding request from the town of 1.2 million. Any questions?
Yeah, I do have a question. My name's Greg. I own Islesboro Electric, the big electrical bid. This is a patient care building, which requires an inordinate amount of time and materials, in respect to my trade. So I did want to sanity check my numbers because they did seem very high. But everything needs a secondary ground path in a patient care space. And that's really what drives most of my numbers. I also have $150,000 just in generators for the 2 spots and well over $150,000 an hour, or 150,000 for the security and the fire alarm. I went through my numbers again and it still seemed big, so I went to see what other towns are getting. And the one I drive by all the time is that West Rockport, fire station that's going up, I think out on 90. Is that where that is?
Yeah.
Their budget is $4.5 million. They're getting a 4-bay garage, 3 bedrooms, 2.5 bathrooms, and a few offices. So I know it's not apples to apples, but it's kind of comparing the spaces. You're basically building a small hospital versus a storage garage. I think those numbers, and you're on an island here, I think those numbers need to be questioned a little bit more.
Yeah.
And that's the one Rockport's moving forward with, so that's, and, yeah, and they don't have the challenges of the island to deal with.
Yeah, well, to be clear, they are checking with a couple other electrical, see if they could get,
Well,
it's hard to
I know,
say you're
and my
getting the
number's
best
not
deal
gonna
with
bring this.
one quote. So.
I know, my number's not gonna bring this down to where it needs to be anyway,
No,
but
no.
I'm just saying overall, you're looking at $4.5 million for basically a satellite fire station in West Rockport. I don't see how they're gonna get a little hospital up here for less than that.
Okay. Any other comments or questions? Fred?
So to move forward with the proposal that's on the table right now, does the town have to go before the townspeople again?
Yes.
Okay, so that process is in
And,
play
and,
then.
and we've got a couple of dates set up, with a special town meeting coming April 10th, so. Any other questions? Lauren, do you want to step in and you have anything to say?
Yeah, I think the everybody has to be I don't think anybody's surprised because this has been sort of shaking around the community, I think, one way or the other. But I want to reassure everyone that there's no doubt in the minds of Pete Anderson or myself, or I think any of the committee members, that we are absolutely dedicated to doing the Up Island Public Safety Garage and the renovation of the municipal building. And there is the possibility of grant money out there. We've only partially explored that. Cressica has helped with thinking about that. But even if you think about the fact that it's virtually, 4 walls and a slab and a roof, with no well and septic system in our current plan, we should be able to do that as a town. We should be able to put that together and use the funding that we're setting aside. So that money is not going to be spent on the health center. That's money is going to be left in the budget. From the way we're laying this out, we're going to include that expense and not spend it on anything other than the Up Island Public Safety Garage and the renovation. So that money's going to be there, and I think we can find a way to build it for the amount that we've set aside. And do it in a fairly rapid way. That's the plan. We're just trying to bring down the ask that we bring to the community to an amount that we think will get a yes vote. And if we ask for $2,200,000, we're concerned that that's going to be the tipping point. Maybe the tipping point will be way lower than that and we will get a no vote, but we're hoping that we're approaching a reasonable amount, giving all the factors that we know out there in the construction world. We know on the island, we need a health center. We know this one that currently exists. I just talked to Christine Robb before we got online. And she can speak to this more eloquently, but the existing health center is doing a brilliant job of holding on, but it's not meeting the health center requirements. And ultimately, that is not going to be a good solution for us. We're going to have a new health center building and renovating the existing one. We've looked at that in incredible detail, and that is just not going to happen to the degree that it must be renovated for the concerns that the health center requires, such as privacy and ventilation and all kinds of other details. We can't simply move Mert and Fred out and then do a major renovation that's going to satisfy what we need to do. So we're on the verge of getting a good health center with the ability to expand in the future if need be. And I have to say, and I'm sorry I'm going on so long, but I want to compliment Pete Peltier and Mark Olet for really working hard for us. And if we let them speak a lot longer, I think you'd get a lot more of the understanding of how much they've put into this. We asked them to be very succinct, but I think we're there, folks. I think I think Peter Peltier may come back with somewhat lower numbers. We may be getting it below 1 million. That's conceivable. But I think we need to be thinking about today the approach that we want to take and whether we want to try to include the cost that we currently have for the Up Island Public Safety Garage at $1,400,000 or set aside the original amount that we understand is more reasonable for such a facility, and then move forward with the ask of 1 million or so dollars to be refined at a later date. And then I want to turn it back to Pete to lead the discussion and see if he has anything to add to that.
I don't have really anything to add to that. We could be taking a motion to see if we're gonna move forward with the health center and keep the budgeted line items for the Up Island Safety Garage and the renovations in the health center, but is that something you want to do at this meeting, Lauren?
Yeah, I think we want to be able to come to the select board. Our timing is very tight to actually get a contract and start construction. And that means working backwards, that we have to bring a request to the town on April 10th when we have a public town meeting. And that means that the select board has to approve a warrant on March 27th. And we have, and that's the meeting where they would need to hear from us, hear from our committee. We could have another meeting next week, but I'm worried about delaying any much longer. So ideally, today, we would decide whether we want to tell the select board that we'd like to go forward with the recommendation that Pete has outlined. If you look at the one, it's the color-coded one at the bottom. So it has the project's cost summary. In green, it has the amount for the health center. In kind of a peach color, it's got the existing public safety renovation. And in blue, it's got the Up Island Public Safety Garage. It's got a contingency and a fees and services for a total of 4 million. But then when we apply the money that we have already either received in donations, thank you, Linda Gillies, or that we have in a warrant already approved, it would be a balance that we would need to ask for of 1,227,000. And remember that that figure, 1,227,000, P. Peltier is working to get that down. So we may be able to get it under 1 million. Whatever that number is what we would ask ultimately when we go to the town. So yes, I think we need ideally, we need a vote. We've tried to get this done a lot sooner than this, folks, but it really required waiting for the numbers to be pounded and pounded down by Peter Peltier. So we're in a little bit of a time crunch, is what I'm saying. So I'm asking for you to ask the questions that you need to ask and feel comfortable. I'm particularly looking to Jay Zlakowski for his input into this, putting him on the spot as best I can. So I'm back to you, Pete.
Jay, you got anything to
I know we've gone back and forth with this number. Is this complete health center?
Yeah.
Is this the apartment, everything 100% done?
Yep.
And what size are we, 40 by 60 now?
Mark,
I-
what is the current configuration of the health center?
It's, there's various canopies and whatnot, but the square footage is roughly 4,400 square feet.
4,000,
4,000 something square feet.
that's more than 40 by 60. It's
Yeah.
only 2,400.
Yeah, it's kind of an awkward.
It's got a L on it.
Yeah, I just haven't seen a print in a while. I was just,
Pete, are
Yes.
those last numbers to the right of the colored numbers that
Yep.
we've been talking about? Is that the GMP numbers?
Mhm.
Or what
that's
is it?
everything
That's
up on.
On the far
these
right,
ones over here.
under the green, yeah.
Yes, those are doing all the projects at the full,
All together,
yes.
including the Up Island Garage.
The Up Island
Oh.
Garage at just over $1 million and the health center and the renovations to the public safety, I believe.
Oh,
And then we would be asking for 2.2 million
okay,
around there if we were going that route.
all right, that makes sense then.
Just for clarification, so the health center is, sorry, am I speaking out of turn?
No, go.
Okay, sorry, I just wanted to clarify the numbers. The health center plus the public safety garage, according to the March 4th bid, is 4.7 million.
Yes,
So that's that number down there.
yes.
And then there's an additional 432,000 for the Up Island Public Safety Garage. Is that added in?
No, that is the number for the building of the budget, that 432,000 would go away.
Oh, that would go away.
This replaces that.
Okay, so the total is, not 5.8 million for the whole,
Including all of the
Construction?
contingencies and the fees, yes.
so it's 4.7 plus 100 plus 432,000
Yep.
additional for the Up Island Public Safety Garage, even though the 1 million is already included?
That's an error.
Okay,
I didn't see this myself until I got here, so I didn't.
so it might be that number should be 1.8 or slightly less than 1.8 million?
Yep. But it does carry the contingency and the
Right.
fees and services.
Right.
Yeah, that 432,000 should not be there.
Okay.
Because the price is already included,
So where's that change the number to?
1.8. To do it all.
Good catch, Chrisika.
So what's the current square footage of health center area that we have now?
I don't try that in my head anymore.
4,400 square feet,
2,000? Less than 2,000.
What did you say?
But
4,400 square feet.
that's on the new one, right, Mark?
That's the newly redesigned.
But what's the current health centers? The one that's out here, the
Oh,
one that we're using right now.
oh my God.
Yeah, it's like
I've-
on the order of 2,500, it's half the size
Yeah.
about.
Yeah, it is, the new one is designed with additional examination rooms and overnight accommodation space and the ability to expand in the future. So we're not stuck with wherever we end up with. We have the ability to expand that, and there's lots of additional space inside the building. We do have Christine Robb here, who's done a lot of detailed work on it. If you want to, can we just ask her for a quick comment on this? It'd have to be very brief, Christine, but,
I'm out of here in 10 minutes, so.
oh, okay.
I'll just say that if I were the inspector for that health center, I would close it down the way it is now. Period.
Okay,
It's not safe. There's no confidentiality. Just storing stuff under the sinks. The food, their lunchroom is right next to the labs on the same countertop. They're doing an excellent job with very bad conditions. And I think if we need to keep health professionals coming to this island who are of any quality whatsoever, we need to give them a better place to work. So that's, and I have one other idea. Has anybody ever considered just putting a prefab building for the Up Island Safety Garage? And that's my idea. Now I'll stop talking.
We have talked about that. Thanks, Christine. Pete, you're right. Let's see if we can see if we can get anybody to do a motion. If not, we need to reschedule.
I'll make a motion that we, ask the town to put forward for the town meeting the amount of money necessary to fund building the healthcare center and keeping the public safety garage and the renovations to the public safety. We'll keep those for those projects. And which would be asking the town at this point, the numbers are gonna change some, for 1.2 million. Is there a second?
Pete,
Yes.
I have a real hearing problem this week,
Yep.
and I've heard very little of what's going on this week. Before I vote on this, I'd like to make sure that the Up Island garage is going to be built. Or is this part of this?
My motion would keep the 432,000 that was originally budgeted for that garage. It would keep it for the garage,
And it will be built.
and it will be built, not right away.
Right.
But we'd have to do some rethinking on what kind of a building it's gonna be and how to do it.
Because if
More
you have
reasonably.
a town vote and the Up Island garage is not part of this, you're gonna lose the vote. And so I just want to make sure that we'll be able to tell people that they're going to have an Up Island garage.
Yep, we can do that. I just don't feel comfortable telling them it's gonna be over $1 million.
No, but it will be built.
Yes, yeah, we'll keep that money, the budgeted money, the 432,000, we'll keep that for that
Okay.
Up Island garage.
And the amount that's being asked, the town is being asked for is 1,227,104.
Yes,
Oh, yeah, must have meant.
currently it's right there. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, any further discussion?
So since the number was off, we're only talking 500,000 difference from. Instead of. For that, it's a lot lower, it's 1.7,
Yeah,
so we're talking $500,000.
yeah,
And here it's $1.4 million, right? It says to build up island.
yeah.
So if you run the two difference in numbers. You're saving like $500,000 by doing both, is what the theory is, right?
I don't know that you're saving 500,000.
Well, isn't the
Three
number,
hundred thousand, yeah,
how much?
300,000,
Saving 300,000?
so
Okay, I was just,
you're actually, yeah, you'd actually be paying, if you don't ask for the money now, you'd be paying, yeah, $300,000 more later, yeah.
Yeah.
According to.
yeah, that's it, you went with,
Yeah.
yeah. Okay.
You're gonna end up paying anyway. If not more.
So either, yeah, you save 300,000 now, or you pay $800,000 later.
Any further discussion?
Yeah, I do have a slight point. Ms. Bruce was talking about the potential for expansion. And if you're going to expand what's now an office on the plans into a patient care space, you can't just relabel it. It has to be rewired to protect people that are gonna have electricity connected to their body. There's very specific rules about that. And to Ms. Rob's point about inspectors, if an inspector sees a room that looks like a patient's care space and just isn't a patient care space because it's not labeled that way, they'll stop the project too, and that's increased costs. So the rule's probably not gonna get pulled over their eyes.
How, I mean, if we're voting on this, are we voting it goes to the select board, they choose and it's voted yes or no, and that's it? Or is it one part, two part?
That's up to you guys.
Yeah, if you want to give the town a choice on that, it could be set up that way. I've been told that that's probably creates a lot of confusion in a vote situation, but I think, that's definitely an option, Jay.
So I mean, your thought and what you're proposing is just yes or no for the amount of money for the health center.
Along with the funding. It's already been labeled for the.
Well, they don't have to vote on that, that's
Right,
already
right.
there, so we're just going for the funding
Right.
for the health center, it's a yes or no, and that's it.
Yep.
What's gonna happen, what is it gonna cost us even more money to build this thing? You're gonna have to beg and plead for more money, like the school. How much more was the school than budgeted?
I didn't study that.
Isn't he the one that built it?
No, he wasn't working for them when it was.
No, it wasn't.
So you can't go,
I mean,
But that was
I mean, in theory, can it go over budget?
their selling.
With everything that we have in order, can it go over budget? I mean, anything can go over budget, but.
It would have to be.
$3-5
I
million.
mean, that's how we're, I mean, I haven't done enough big jobs, because that's why you hire somebody.
No, they did.
So if you put a low enough price on it, everybody be excited to buy it and sign it and vote for it.
I mean, I think we're covered, you got a ferry?
And then they're gonna blame it on.
Going to America?
I go into Florida.
Really?
Okay, I think
So,
at this
there's
point,
motion-
before Pete leaves, it sounds like if Jace, if you still have questions and you're not ready to vote, we need to reschedule another meeting, I think is what we need to do. Unless.
No.
Unless we want to go forward now.
I
We
will be
haven't,
back.
When?
we've gotten a second, so we're at that stage. We need to at least finish the
Be back
process.
and available on the 20th. That gives us a week to get it to the select board.
Yeah,
Yeah. I'd like to wait. A week and see, I don't know about the voting. I mean, how you wanna present it, if it just was one, yes or no, I mean.
I don't wanna stand up in front of those people and try to sell them on $1 million garage.
No. But so we're just voting that the money's set aside, but that'd be a separate vote, wouldn't it?
Nope.
No.
So it's all one vote, they set the money aside and ask for 1.2. And I guess the select board could change however they wanna word it, right?
Absolutely.
Let the select board see what in the town,
Okay,
it's up to the town,
Yep.
up to people. Let's vote on
all right. Any further discussion? Those in favor? Aye.
it. Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Any further discussion? Hearing none, adjourned.
Question, Mark, and you for the health center and the fire. So you have a full kitchen. Right next to it.
Our kitchen
How long you
is in
got,
our
Lee?
lab.
I know, but they have a full
Good grief.
kitchen set up right to the.
Right.
Why can't you guys use that?